keep up with the question. Yeah. Everybody will get your seats. We'll get started. We're going to begin with the Board of Regents, Chancellor Steve Wrigley. Chancellor, we welcome. I'm glad to see you. We won't talk football. We'll just talk
Thank you, Mr.
education.
Chairman. Appreciate it. Thank you. Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to provide an overview of the University System of Georgia's budget requests for fiscal year 2020. We are grateful to the General Assembly for your continued support of public higher education. Let me also thank Governor Kemp and his team for their support and for a great budget recommendation for the university system. Before we go into the specifics of our request, I would like to talk about a few initiatives we have underway to link our curriculum more closely to workforce and community needs across Georgia, and to discuss how our research efforts impact economic growth in every part of the state. Our purpose at its core is knowledge, creating knowledge through research, transferring it through teaching, and applying it through service. History shows that advances in knowledge drive innovation, and that innovation drives the economy. Economists don't agree on much, but they do agree there is a direct relationship between knowledge creation, education attainment, and economic competitiveness. In the recovery from the Great Recession, 11.6 million jobs were created nationally, and data show that 99% of them, 11.5 million jobs, went to folks with at least some post-secondary education. And 70% of them went to people with at least a bachelor's degree. The lesson is the economy relentlessly rewards getting an education. So the university system is focused on all skill areas a student needs, including soft skills, which are so vital to a student succeeding in the workplace and avoiding misunderstandings. Let me give you an example. A guy goes into his favorite fast food restaurant one afternoon. He's all by himself. There's nobody else in the restaurant. He goes up to the cashier and he places his order. I'd like 4 buckets of chicken, extra crispy, 3 quarts of mashed potatoes and gravy, 3 quarts of coleslaw, 4 dozen biscuits, 5 gallons of sweet tea. Cashier says, "Thank you very much," rings it up, looks at him and says, "For here or to go?" Representative Oliver is shaking her head like she always does. So soft skills are intertwined with innovation, understanding the workplace, entrepreneurship, and creating startups that are essential to Georgia's economy. So let me share some ways we are encouraging these. We recently launched with the Georgia Chamber of Commerce the Georgia Inventure Prize to promote the growth of student entrepreneurs and innovators around the system. We want to encourage students as they convert ideas into inventions and inventions into companies and jobs. To modernize our curriculum, we have launched the Georgia FinTech Academy. Georgia-based FinTech companies process 70% of all credit, debit, and prepaid card transactions in the United States. They employ more than 40,000 people here and generate over $72 billion in annual revenue, and their demand for talent is growing. The FinTech Academy will respond quickly to the changing needs of that industry by working with them to design the curriculum, offer instruction, sometimes virtually, and require internships. In other areas, we recently announced a partnership with the United States Department of Labor to develop apprenticeships in cybersecurity, and another partnership with the United States Army to help active duty military, reservists, and National Guard members stationed at Fort Gordon to pursue their degrees in cybersecurity programs across the state. This comes as we have also won approval from our accreditors for the Nexus degree. It gives students the option of a shorter-term college credential in high-demand career areas. The Nexus degree is the first of its kind in the nation, the first new degree approved since 1898. Some of the first programs are getting underway in Albany in blockchain with machine learning and blockchain with data analytics. We also recognize Georgia's demand for quality health care, particularly in rural Georgia. To tackle the doctor shortage, with your support, we expanded the number of Georgia's teaching hospitals by 8, bringing the total to 19. At the same time, again with your support, we expanded our graduate medical education program. It is on track to create more than 600 new residency slots by 2025, exceeding its original goal of 400 for less money than planned. We have more work to do in this area, but aligning our curriculum with regional economic needs is becoming the norm, thus helping to advance Georgia's economy in this complex, interconnected world. Another part of our mission that helps Georgia's economy thrive is the substantial research we undertake on our campuses. Last year, our campuses conducted $1.4 billion of research. Those funds, most provided by the federal government or industry, were used to hire staff, purchase equipment, and make discoveries, which in some cases led to the formation of new companies, products, and jobs. The impact around the state is substantial. Let me talk more specifically about the impact of research on our state. Key employment sectors, many of them rural-based, are often overlooked. Also overlooked are ways our institutions support and enhance these sectors through research that yields discoveries that can expand an industry's reach or protect a farmer's crop. Farming remains Georgia's oldest and biggest industry, with a more than $70 billion annual impact on the state's economy from the over 42,000 farms working 9.6 million acres. Georgia's ag industry contributes some 383,000 jobs to our economy statewide, while producing, among many products, cotton, eggs, rye, beef, cucumbers, sweet corn, and bell peppers. We regularly lead the nation in the production of broilers, blueberries, and pecans. But I have a question. Is it pecans? I asked several people in my office, and I got 3 answers. Pecans, pecans, and pecans. Teresa McCartney, who is from Cairo, insisted the correct pronunciation is pecans, and then explained what a pecan is in Cairo. But out of respect for this committee, I will say nothing more about that. Regardless, pecan production is worth more than $355 million to the Georgia economy. Georgia also produces half of the nation's peanuts. How does research contribute to this critical industry? One example, in 1993, Georgia's peanut farmers desperately needed new varietals to produce higher yields and resist white mold, wilt, and roundworms. At that time, only 1% of the plants they grew had been developed in Georgia. Today, after a focused research effort, 95% of the peanut plants grown in Georgia have been developed by the University of Georgia and constitute a $2 billion industry. That is a success story of research translating knowledge into innovation and economic progress for our state's critical agricultural economy. Another example is the case of an infant boy from Athens who spent the first 6 of his 7 months in the hospital battling the collapse of his airways, something typical surgery could not fix. Biomedical engineers from Georgia Tech used experimental technology to build 3D printed tracheal splints. Surgeons from Children's Healthcare of Atlanta last August used those splints to expand the boy's trachea and bronchus. Within a few years, these splints will be absorbed into his body. This was a complex operation, never before performed in Georgia, and only 15 times before in the world. But experts believe 3D printing can revolutionize pediatric and other surgery. The final example of how our research can impact our economic growth is in Georgia's mining industry, a large part of which is found across Middle Georgia, along the fall line. Georgia employs more than 8,200 mine workers, with the state's mining industry contributing more than 38,000 jobs to our economy. A vast majority of them work in the kaolin industry. While kaolin is used in everything from makeup to medicine, new technologies have created demand for something called rare earth elements, which now almost exclusively come from China. Rare earth elements, and for those of you who are wondering, I'm not talking about my hair. are critical to everything from lighting to fighting cancer. For example, terbium is crucial to keeping fuel cells cool, helping run everything from the color display on a smart TV to our Navy's sonar systems. So what's the connection between these elements, kaolin, and research? Georgia State University research shows that our state's kaolin mines may also contain rare earth elements, suggesting our mining companies may be able to obtain heavy rare earth elements from kaolin ore, something that's never been done before. Kaolin is one of our state's largest natural resources, with 8 million metric tons worth $1 billion mined every year. Producing rare earth elements could mean more jobs and expanded markets for that crucial industry. So whether it's peanuts in Mitchell County, kaolin in Washington County, or high-tech surgery for an infant from Athens, our research makes the lives of Georgians better. You have heard me before say we have three main goals. Our overall purpose is to raise attainment levels, and we are focused on graduating students by encouraging them to take more hours, providing pathways to graduation, and reforming remedial education. We also continue to work hard on being affordable. Over the last 5 years, we have kept annual tuition increases at an average of 1.8%. That includes no tuition increase for 2 of the past 3 years, and at a time when austerity cuts during the Great Recession to our formula total $1.2 billion, and state funding per student adjusted for inflation is about what it was 20 years ago. We continue to look for ways to keep costs down for students. We now offer more than 10,000 course sections with free online textbooks and study materials, part of our Affordable Learning Georgia program. Converting textbooks that cost $150 or $300 or even $600 to free online text is saving students more than $19 million annually, a number we know will grow. Encouraging students to borrow less is part of a system-wide initiative we have begun. Our goal is to make sure students understand fully how much they are borrowing, that they not borrow more than they need to, and that they understand what the monthly payment on that debt will be when they graduate. We take seriously our responsibility to find further efficiencies. Last year, I told you about the Comprehensive Administrative Review. It marks the first time we have ever undertaken a comprehensive review of all of the administrative activities across the entire university system. Every one of our 26 institutions has participated. So has our university system office. We knew we needed to improve. We found duplication and inefficiencies in many areas, such as HR, IT, communications, and identified processes that made sense years ago but are now outdated. This big undertaking is still underway. All action plans will be finalized by the end of June. The system office and the University of Georgia went first and have taken the recommendations seriously. We've eliminated 40 jobs, and in the system office alone, saw a 6% reduction in staff positions. We are redirecting these funds to programs that directly impact students, such as the financial literacy program, to reduce how much students borrow, and to convert required textbooks into free or open-sourced online alternatives. Our goal is to change how we do things and make the organizational culture more efficient while graduating more students. We are working hard on affordability and finding efficiencies, but we do need and very much appreciate the state investment that you provide. It is critical. I want to highlight in particular Governor Kemp's 2% merit increase recommendation. At the biennial, I mentioned the importance of offering competitive salaries, where we have fallen behind the last few years. Since 2010, our average faculty salary has dropped the most among SREB states when you adjust for inflation, by 10.7%. Governor Kemp's recommendation will help us make up that ground, and I respectfully ask for your support of it. We are grateful to Governor Kemp and to this General Assembly for your long-standing investment in the university system of Georgia, and look forward to working with you this year. I'd now like to ask Tracy Cook to go over the specifics of our budget request.
Thank you, Chancellor. Today I will begin, excuse me, let me get the clicker. Today I'll begin with the fiscal year 2019 amended budget and then move on to the fiscal year 20 budget. The fiscal year 19 amended budget includes $13.6 million in new funds for the university system. little shorter than the Chancellor. The right-hand side of your slide are the tracking numbers for your reference if you're working from the tracking sheets. And today I'll just highlight one item that was provided in the amended budget. So this budget includes $9.9 million in tobacco settlement funds for the Augusta University Health Center. And these funds will be used for equipment, renovation, and expansion of the pediatric and adult clinical radiation therapy services. Moving on to the fiscal year 20 budget, operating budget, the governor has recommended an increase in state funds of $146 million to support the university's system. The first several items, those shaded in blue, are actually components of the USG funding formula. So I want to take a few seconds just to talk about the formula. So the majority of the funds that come to the university system from the state come through the funding formula. There are three main components of this formula. That is enrollment, square footage across our campuses, as well as fringe benefits. But the primary driver in the formula is the enrollment growth at our institutions, and that's specifically the actual credit hours taken by our students. So the credit hours that we use to make the fiscal year 2020 request is based on the enrollment from fiscal year 18. So that's the last completed fiscal year that we have. And so our formula is on a 2-year lag. And that reflects $8.4 million in credit hours taken by our students across the system. So I will highlight the major items from the formula. The first line you can see is the enrollment growth. $82 million will be provided to fund the growth at our institutions based on the fiscal year 18 academic year. An additional $3.5 million will be provided in maintenance and operation funds for increased academic square footage across our campuses. Additionally, the recommendation includes $2.1 million for the TRS rate increase and an additional $6.9 million to support the employer share of increases in health costs. We are grateful to the governor, I want to echo the chancellor, for the funding of a 2% merit and retention increase in the amount of $47.6 million. Recruitment and retention of top-tier faculty is a high priority of the university system, and these funds will go a long way in supporting that priority. The next line you'll see in the fiscal 20 budget is the continuation of the phase-out plan of the startup funds that were provided to Georgia Gwinnett College. The $1.3 million reduction is the 6th year of a 7-year plan to reduce the startup funds. In the interest of time, I won't go through each and every item on the list. However, would be happy to answer any questions about a specific item regarding the fiscal year 19 amended budget or the fiscal year 20 budget. So again, to recap, the governor's recommendation includes $146 million in operating funds to support the university system. So moving on to the capital request, the governor's capital request includes $209 million in projects to support the system. The first line is that I'll highlight is major repair and rehabilitation, or we call MRR funding, that support our schools. These funds are an investment in the existing facilities and infrastructure at every institution. They are allocated across our institution, and they go a long way in addressing current backlog of deferred maintenance and updating the existing facilities to meet the current educational and safety needs. MRR funds keep the existing buildings maintained and decreases the need for new construction. The recommendation also includes $7.9 million to provide equipment for 3 projects that were previously funded and that are currently under construction or renovation. These projects are the Colton Library Renovation and Fine Arts Building at Abraham Baldwin Agricultural College, the Schwab Memorial Library Renovation and Addition at Columbus State University, and the Center for Engineering and Research at Georgia Southern University. The recommendation also includes funding for 6 construction projects across our institutions. Several of these projects are supported by funds external to the organization, mostly private funds and some institutional funds. And these projects, whenever we can leverage the funding from the state, advance these projects. Each of these construction projects, as you'll see, will have a direct impact on student success. So at Georgia College and State, the bond funding will construct a 45,000 square foot building with flexible research labs, instructional labs, and faculty workspaces. Georgia State's University new Convocation Center will be a 200,000 square foot state-of-the-art facility. In addition to the multi-purpose arena, the center will provide instructional space to support specialized academic programs such as nursing, sports medicine, and kinesiology. And the Academic Learning Center at Kennesaw State University will house several major campus programs and contain classrooms, study space, and computer labs. The two key facilities will be renovated on the Middle Georgia Cochran campus, namely Roberts Library and Dillard Hall. This project is another example of renovating existing space to provide library and lab spaces for students. The University of North Georgia is one of the USG's fastest growing institutions, and this funding will support renovations of 7 existing buildings on the former Lanier Tech campus, enabling this institution to expand their baccalaureate and graduate program offerings. And lastly, the University of West Georgia will construct a new facility for the College of Business. This modern instructional building will also have conference-style space to facilitate cooperation with business and community partners, and this request is supported by $5 million in private funding. The last two items to mention are a $5 million in funding to equip high-tech laboratories for the Georgia Research Alliance Eminent Scholars, and $1.2 million for 2 renovation projects at Georgia Military College. So this brings the total capital request or capital recommendation to $209 million. I want to mention that each of these projects have been discussed. Each of these projects for the institutions have been developed through collaboration with the institutional leadership of the University System of Georgia, along with our Office of Real Estate and Facilities. The USG maintains a long-term capital plan, which is the foundation for our annual request. This capital plan typically contains approximately 4 years of projects proposed by our institutions. The overall objective of the USG capital planning and budget process is to meet the system needs within the context of funding available, and careful attention is given to potential renovation and reuse of existing facilities. Our request included 12 small capital projects. These are projects that are generally under $5,000 and are for renovation and rehabilitation or repurposing of existing buildings, and it also included funding for the design of 6 projects across our institutions. These projects were not included in the governor's recommendation, but we would be happy to provide additional information as needed or requested. So this concludes the operation and budget recommendation, operation and capital budget recommendation overview. Again, I want to echo the Chancellor by thanking Governor Kemp and his team for the support and a strong budget recommendation, as well as the General Assembly for your continued support of higher education over the years. And with that, the Chancellor and I will be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, we got a couple. Representative Dickey, is that your line? Hold on. There we go.
In presenting this today. Across our state, we have a very strong job market, and we're desperately trying to match up skills with the jobs and education and training. I know we're doing it at all levels, from high school to technical college. But I do know we do have some big shortages of nursing, teachers, maybe aviation jobs. What is USG doing to try to make up those gaps in education to place students in those jobs?
And I mentioned a few of the efforts that we have underway, and we've got an effort underway with respect to nursing now, and Tristan Denley is here, our Chief Academic Officer, that we focused on in the last year and a half. One of the challenges we have in nursing is finding nursing faculty. Sometimes is a problem for us. We addressed that, I think, starting 3 years ago by making a concerted effort to recruit nursing faculty, address the pay issues that we had there, and so we've begun to see a turnaround in that area. We began, it's been some years back, in education, looking at ways to increase the pipeline of educators. The last time I checked on those numbers, we felt like over the next few years we were going to be okay with it. It's a constant and regular, it requires constant and regular attention. There's no question about it, particularly for education, because it does take a number of years from the point a student enters a program until he or she is ready to be in a classroom and then succeed in a classroom. But the high demand careers is something we began looking at regularly 5 or 6 years ago. I've mentioned a couple of other areas we were looking at. FinTech, we started this FinTech Academy. We worked directly with the industry there to develop a curriculum. We organized around an academy around the system office. Georgia State is a lead player in that to address the needs there. You're all familiar with the investments that have been made in cyber, which is exploding in terms of demand for workers at all skill levels. And we've got, I think, 8 or 9 certified programs around the system now. So that's another area where we've changed how we're organized, a curriculum, trying to be more nimble. Film, there's a big demand in film, and we began the Georgia Film Academy some years ago with sites, again, sprinkled around the state, working closely with industry. That's the thing that we're trying to do in all of these areas. Work closely with the industry to make sure that the curriculum is relevant to what they need. So we're not perfect. I wouldn't suggest that. It is something we're concerned about. We're trying to be attentive to. If any of you see an area that you want us to devote some attention to, let me know, please, because we want to be responsive to that. But it is something that we've tried to give attention to in recent years, and we take it very seriously.
Representative Chokas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Chancellor Wigley. It's good to see you again.
Good to see you.
We've got, addressing the nursing shortage, I'm very proud of Georgia Southwestern State University opening up more opportunities by expanding the nursing program at Georgia Southwestern. But there's been a bit of a problem, and I'd like your thoughts and maybe even some suggestions on the part of what we should do, is we don't have enough slots for clinicals for our nurses to get that training in our hospitals. And apparently part of the problem is out-of-state nursing students coming here and getting those clinicals. And maybe, if I'm not mistaken, other universities out of state paying for these slots in our hospitals. Are you familiar with this problem, and have you got some thoughts towards it?
I'm not familiar with that particular problem. Would like to learn more about that. I do know that there are challenges with clinical placements. Some of it has to do with the supervision ratios that are set by the nursing board. That's an important factor. Some of it just has to do with the reality of how many placements there are. We are looking at that aspect as well, but I'm not familiar with that. I should love to hear more about that.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got 5 questions. We're already 5 minutes behind. Chairman England here is already goosing me about getting behind schedule. So if you'll keep your questions very succinctly, and Chancellor, if you'll make your answers quickly and to the point, then we can catch up here.
I will, Mr. Chairman.
I mean that in the kindest way.
I will.
Representative Fleming.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In the interest of time, I'll waive.
Representative Knight, you're on.
Interest of time, I'll waive also, Mr. Chairman.
Well, I'll tell you what, that was a magic word, wasn't it? Representative Welch.
Waive.
Senator C.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In the interest of time, I will make sure that we all know that Clayton State School of Nursing is churning out a lot of great nurses for this great state of Georgia.
That's true.
Senator Burke, you relinquished your time? Okay. Well, we cleared them right out there, Chancellor. You see what a short answer will do for you? Well, thank you so much for being here today. We look forward to the subcommittee hearings and delving into the Regent's budgets. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Appreciate it.
Thank you all very much.
All right. Commissioner Matt Arthur, Technical Colleges Systems, Georgia. He's here. With a new beard or something. What's fun of that beard? Chance, we're glad to have you today, Matt. So tell us what you know.
Well, I did just learn a lesson from the chancellor, of course. If I talk long here and answer a couple questions really long, we'll be okay. I'll get fewer questions. No, I'm kidding. Good afternoon. It's great to be here again with everyone, and I want to thank Chairman England, Chairman Hill, and members of the Joint Appropriations Committee for the opportunity to be here today. I'm here to present the governor's budget for the Technical College System of Georgia as it is presented in your book. We're very supportive of that budget, and we believe that it'll allow us to continue our mission to serve the students and industries in the state. Our mission is to provide technical, academic, and adult education and training focused on building a well-educated, globally competitive workforce in Georgia. Put it very simple, our job is to educate students for a career. That's the only reason we're here. That's the reason why we're part of the state of Georgia and in statute. That's our job. We educate students for a career. We do that in varied ways, but we do it through technical education and academics, adult ed, and economic development. And one thing I want to add right here is that we guarantee each and every one of our students to graduate, whether it's with a certificate, a diploma, or an associate degree. We also guarantee that if they don't pass their exam, whether it's nursing or welding, we'll take them back, retrain them, and put them back out there to give them another opportunity. We take that seriously. We have 7 or 8 students a year that come back to us for us to retrain. It does happen, and we do take them back, and it is free for the state and for that student to take them back. We have 22 colleges and 88 campuses around the state. We're within easy access of just about every single citizen in the state of Georgia. So what's our impact? We have 136,000 students in technical ed. Technical ed also includes academics. Adult ed, we have 53,000. And let me say this about adult ed, and I'm going to talk about it a little bit later on. That's 53,000, but this state has right around 1.2 million citizens that don't have a high school education. Okay? We have 53,000 in our program. We work with 128,000 in our economic development programs around the state, and Quick Start trainees last year was over 32,000. So we touched over 351,000 citizens last year in the state of Georgia through training, continuing ed, and in our classes. And I want to show you an example of what some of these students learn and what they do.
I'm Lauren Buriel. I'm 35 years old, and I'm from Sharpsburg, Georgia. My program of study is registered nursing, and I'm attending West Georgia Technical College. I knew that I wanted to have a career and move towards a career where I was going to have a purpose.
My name's Natalie Santana. I'm 21, and I'm in the dental hygiene program at Southeastern Technical College. Every time I went to a dental office, I noticed a pattern that I didn't really like. and that was that they didn't have a lot of Spanish speakers there. So if I could be that difference and I could be that change and I could be that bridge between those two communities, that's what I wanted to be, and that's mainly why I'm here.
My name is Madison Potts. I'm 18 years old and I grew up in Marietta, Georgia. I was a homeschool student. My program of study was interdisciplinary studies and I attended Chattahoochee Technical College.
My name is Trey Brown. I'm 24 and I'm from Columbus, Georgia. My program of study was respiratory care and I attended Columbus Technical College.
The technical college programs were selected because they were looking out into the workforce and seeing where the holes were, and they were trying to satisfy those needs. All of their programs provide a pathway and a roadmap so that you can get into a career where you're going to be needed, where somebody's going to want your skills and to help in your community.
My sister and I are the first ones to attend college, and that is really a big motivator for us because my parents sacrifice so much and they do every day and they work so hard every day.
I was looking for a more intimate experience as a 15-year-old graduate. I wanted to be able to connect with my professors and my fellow students and not be in a classroom with 150 students. That made me really nervous.
Before attending a technical college, I didn't expect such advanced technology. For example, for the dental clinic, and learning everything in the exact same environment that I will be working in.
Our healthcare lab here at Columbus Technical College is state-of-the-art. The equipment that we have in our lab here is the exact same equipment that I use on a daily basis at the hospital where I work at.
This is where people go that want to get a job. I didn't want to have 4 years. I wanted to learn the skills and be working.
One of the great things about technical college, I actually had a job before I even graduated. Here we are today, registered respiratory therapists, working in 2 different hospitals, and we have our career set for the rest of our life. I'm very close to having a license to go practice something that I really believe in. That's completely because I jumped in and I had this great net of this school that said, you can do it and here's the way. That was the biggest piece at technical college, was a pathway.
Our job is to make sure that our students have a job, and our job is to make sure that the programs we offer, there is a job. If there isn't a job, we don't want to have that training in our colleges. 88% of our graduates get a job in field. 99.3 graduates either have a job or they're continuing on with their education. The group of young people you saw earlier in that video, every single one of them either has a job in their field or they're continuing their education. And that's what we feel like our part is, to help the state of Georgia and educate the workforce. Dual enrollment. We had 26,000 students last year, a little bit over 26,000. That's 58% of the total of dual enrolled students in the state. They come to us. We only have a little over 40% of the money, however, that comes to us. But we have 26,000, 58% of the students. Rural counties is where our biggest really input and our power, or where we really make a difference, is really rural Georgia. And this map shows that just in dual enrollment. You look at where the majority of dual enrollment students come from. They come from rural Georgia. And it isn't just for TCSG, it's also for USG too. But that's where they come from, and this map demonstrates that they need the help. Metro has a lot of places to go to and a lot of opportunities that aren't offered right now in rural Georgia. And through dual enrollment, you're offering that help to those students. Hope Career Grant, we want to thank you for supporting this program. As time has gone on, we started with 4 different programs. We now have, you see, 17 different programs for the Hope Career Grant. Over 30,000 of our students are involved in this Hope Career Grant. And of course, each one of these programs is a high-demand career program. There are jobs waiting on them as soon as they leave. Last year, we added aviation, we added automotive, construction, electrical line work, and logistics. We've had a 25% increase since 2017. Over 1 year, we increased it 25%. This program is growing. Of course, it provides students tuition free. And the word still isn't out there. We have students all the time say, I didn't know anything about the Hope Career Grant. We have counselors that don't understand what this is all about. But we see our enrollment in these programs growing, which means we are making a dent in the workforce. These programs, the awards in these programs have grown 42% over 1 year. Since 2016, we've seen a 300% increase of students taking these programs. So we're getting there, but we have a long way to go. They're very responsive to the critical workforce needs that we have in the state of Georgia. In our economic development programs, we have two different types. We have Quick Start, which Quick Start is still the #1 economic development engine in the nation for 8 years in a row. You see that they made a difference. They worked with 79 projects last year, and they served over 32 individuals in the workforce. What do? New companies coming in, Quick Start's always at the table. They provide that training, so when that facility's finished, the workers walk in the door and never miss a beat. They are trained to start from day one exactly what they're doing. There's no learning on the job. They learn with us. And of course, this is dependent on the size of the company, and it's not just new companies, it's also companies that are here, industry that is here, that they want to expand. Pratt Whitney last year grew and added on. Quick Start was there to provide that training. So it depends on the size of the company, but this is a very unique program across the nation. In our each college has an economic development division. What they do, they deliver customized training and continuing education to industry and business, whether it's teaching a company's workers how to drive a forklift, or whether it's welding, or whether the company has a group of students that they want to move up to another level. That's what we do with economic development, and it's different than our certificate programs that we have. Last year, we served over 2,500 companies, and we served over 1.7 million hours for those companies in the state of Georgia to work through. And I want to give you a video. When we talk about working with industry, we take it another step. They're sitting at the table when we write curriculum. In fact, a lot of times for our programs, industry is leading that discussion. Right now, we're working with Jackson HVAC out in West Georgia. Their people are writing the program that we're going to turn around and teach them with our instructors at the table, but they're leading this program. And I've got an example I definitely want to show you.
Beasley Forest Products started out many years ago as a small family-run business.
Grown from 1968, where we had a logging truck and some chainsaws, to where we are today, where we have operations all across the world. And I'm all across the United States, and then our customers again all across the world.
The company, which is still family-owned, runs sawmills and branches of the company in several states, including the largest hardwood sawmill in the U.S., located in Hazelhurst. The company employs over 1,500 people and is still growing.
We've been noticing there was a need for loggers, trained people that understand how to operate logging equipment, how to operate in the woods, how to follow best management practices.
And that's when the company teamed up with Coastal Pines Technical College and local high schools to teach a timber harvesting operations class.
Hopefully we can open up their eyes so they can see that I didn't realize this was part of logging.
The 2-semester and summer classes are taught by Tyre, who is employed by the Beasleys.
The reason the kids go to school is to get a job and be beneficial to the community. And I'll meet with the teachers and we'll talk about that very thing. So why are the kids going to school? And sometimes we lose focus on why they're going to school. They're going to school so they can get a job. I'm not going to be here. I'm 52 years old. One day I won't be here. Well, who's going to take my place? Now, who's going to take this person's place? So we hope that we're training these people, these students, to take our place when we're gone, so this can keep operating.
And that's just what some of the students want to do, be leaders in the industry and follow in their family's footsteps.
We learn, there's more to it, than what everybody thinks there is. Figuring out, the loads, cruising timber, what to look for when you go out there and buying timber.
I mean, there's so much figuring and math that has to go into it, and so many people behind the scenes that works at the sawmill. It goes from the biggest jobs to cutting down the trees to the littlest jobs to sweeping the floors. I mean, there's so much that goes into it that people really don't realize.
Before these guys can get their diploma for Master Timber Harvesters training, they will form a logging crew in the summer.
And they have a timber stand that they will actually harvest. They will run the cut-down machines, they'll run the skidders, they'll run the loaders, they'll load the trucks.
Tyler says next year they hope to not only have classes in Jeff Davis County, but also in Appleton County. So as the logging business continues to grow, they can keep young employees coming in the door.
Just another example of working with industry and trying to fill their needs. There was also one on the fishing industry, which was interesting, that we do. And one thing that's not said about these students, this is dual enrolled students. These are high school students that are going through this program. Our average age is 27 at the technical college. We have non-traditional students, and then we have students dually enrolled. But you see how those high school students, they know what they want to do. They're very focused. We're working with industry to provide that, and it's a rigorous course. If you've ever cruised timber, there's a lot of math involved, a lot of sweat, but a lot of math involved. So just wanted to share that with you. Apprenticeships. This program has probably taken off as fast as any. I know that 2 years ago we had less than 200 apprentices across the state. We have over 479. More and more Georgia companies are taking advantage of this apprenticeship opportunity. Students range from high school all the way up. It's a good program. It's in a lot. It gets them involved. They're at the factory, industry, and they're also taking classes at the same time. A lot of the Georgia companies were a little fearful of working with the federal government and having the federal government come in and give them some to be certified. And so all of our colleges are now registered apprentices. We're the only system in the nation to go ahead and do that. We did that because it makes it easier for Georgia companies to go through this program. And so instead of them having to go to the federal government and work with them, we're doing that for them. Military veterans, of course, we're working hard with military veterans and their families across the state, providing job training, providing counseling, getting them in the right situation. And I want to mention the Vector program that we have. One of the most important programs that we do is in Warner Robins. It's right off the Air Force Base, but we provide an advanced curriculum for them to get them in the job as quick as we can, provide them with the necessary skills and training that they need in order to be successful once they leave the military. And we have students from all over the state coming to the Vector Center, and we see it is already growing. It will outgrow itself in 2 years, we feel like, and looking at expanding that across the state and Governor Kemp has talked about that also, but it's a great program. But we have a military presence. We have someone at each college to work with the military in that area, a full-time position. And so we work with not just the actual veteran, but their families also. Adult education is a huge part of what we do. It's adult literacy programs. We offer them at every single college. Every single college has multiple sites across their own county. There is no cost for classroom instruction. I want to make a point that 64% of the students that come in to our adult literacy program read below a 6th grade level. 64% that come in read below a 6th grade level. The percentage of adults that are 25 and older without a high school credential is as high as 25% in 30 counties. So we are working hard to meet this need. We feel like we've got to do other things besides just provide a GED. We are the GED administrator in the state of Georgia. We provide the testing sites across, but we are looking at different avenues for students to get that high school transcript, high school diploma, so that they can enter the workforce beside the GED. There are more than one way to do that. Our partnership with Department of Corrections, of course, comes into this, and we provide adult education services in our prison systems and GED testing. We tested over 6,000 prisoners last year alone in our prisons, and over 2,000 passed the GED. I would hate to take the GED. I've got graduate degrees and everything else. If you've ever seen a GED test, you would hate to take it. It's tough, very tough. 14% of Georgians 25 and older don't have the high school degree. 9% of teenagers 16 to 19 are not in school and not working in the state of Georgia. We also are the providers of the WIOA grant, the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act in the state. It's the nation's principal workforce development legislation, and it works to address employment and training needs in three main areas: dislocated workers, low-income adults, and youth. This is a federal grant. There is no state dollars involved in this. Last year, we received over $90 million that goes out to the local workforce. You see the 19 different areas. I know one of them's 20, they missed 19. Don't ask me how that happened. We have 1 through 18, and then we have 20. But technical college didn't do that. No, I really think they had two more sections down there and closed one down and just left it at 20. Anyway, I've been asked that a lot of times. The money goes, 85% of the money goes out into the local workforce area sources, and they distribute the money from there. 15% stays with us. However, 10% of that 15 is allocated through grants out. Our budget, the governor's budget that is being proposed for next year, very quickly, the only changes in the amended budget is really for DOS administrative self-insurance programs, except for the technical ed. You see $35,147,000 there. $35 million is for an aviation academy for us to build in Paulding County. We are not meeting the needs of the aviation business and industry in the state. Right now, Georgia is the 4th leading employee in the nation in aviation mechanics and aviation technical services. And we have 5 programs across the state, but that alone isn't meeting it. This will service over 100 at a time and provide all of the smaller airports and large airport with aviation mechanics. And that's really the only difference in our amended budget besides the self-insurance. And then the FY20 budget, you see that adult ed and quick start and technical ed have all gone up for different reasons. The main reason, though, is the merit-based pay, the 2%, and I do hope you support that. Our teachers haven't received a pay raise in 5 years. We haven't changed our tuition in that long at all either, so we're really looking forward to that, hopefully. And then there's employer-paid benefits and adjustments for self-insurance and TeamWorks and TRS. You see administration went down. There was a one-time $3 million funding for marketing and advertising for us there. That isn't there. And then there was an addition of $99,000 in that area also. Technical education, the reason why it's gone up $6.6 million is for square footage, and our enrollment has gone up 3.6%. Our credit hours has. That's the main reason that it has gone up. And so that is our budget. Any questions? Let me go to capital outlay. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's our budget. I was going to slide to capital outlay. You see MR&R.
I took it from there.
That's I'm sorry. $10 million in MR&R, which does keep up with our facilities around the state, whether it's roofs or air conditioning units. Equipment refresh is $10 million, and you heard what some of our students said about our equipment, and in most places it is equal to what they see in the hospital, what they see out in the workplace. We have to continually stay on that need, or the workforce we're providing isn't ready. So that equipment refresh money is very important. $10 million across the state to replace, some of the robots that we train on. Some of the CNC machines cost several $100,000. And of course, when you look at diesel mechanics and CDL drivers, the trucks for those cost around $250,000 a piece. And so we definitely need that money. FF&E money for Chattahoochee and Coastal, those are two facilities that are being built now, and this is to finish them out with equipment. We have two facilities that we are requesting money to build. Wiregrass, Georgia, we have an allied health building that we received planning money over a year ago. You know what the situation is with nursing in the state and healthcare in general. Nursing is just one part of our health system. If someone has a wreck on the side of the road, probably the first 3 to 5 people you see graduated from a technical college. So we train everything from radiology to EMTs and, of course, RNs also. But in South Georgia, there is a huge need there. There are over 650 doctor offices alone in Wiregrass's area. And so we are recommending or requesting that. And at West Georgia Technical, we are requesting a new campus there. That facility's 50 years old. When we do diesel mechanics at Carrollton, we have to work on it outside. We don't have a bay that any of the trucks will fit in. We have outgrown that campus completely through facilities and everything. Shade tree mechanics are really a thing of the past, but we have to take the equipment outside to work on it and move it back in. So it is that pitiful. So we are requesting that. And now, Senator Hill, I'm completely through.
Okay, back to you, Chair Lady Smith.
Thank you. I'm directly in front of you near the clock. Thank you very much, Commissioner. This is your first appearance before us, I think.
No, ma'am.
No, you've done it before. Well, good job. Thank you. My question goes to the line item area of dual enrollment, and it appears that the 10th grade apprenticeship program, which is the new key component for our students in attracting industry, is left out of the budget. So if y'all don't mind looking into that, I think it was an oversight, but the money that funds for 10th graders to be part of the dual enrollment, and I've written down the information to give to you on that, but I know it's helped us in our area. I'm Noonan, Georgia, and it's helped us recruit, and we actually started that whole concept in.
So you're talking about Senate Bill 2, or are you talking about what was called Georgia CAT program?
It was done in 2015 is the information I was given, but it involves 10th graders, which is a change. So. Okay.
All right. Please get with us.
Thank you very much.
Representative Knight.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, thank you for what you do. Our technical colleges are so vital for the state, especially as the state grows. You help so many people fill so many important positions that are needed. And on behalf of myself and our technical college, I thank you for that. A couple of the questions. One is in regards to the aviation program. I know I've been working through the career academy, my local career academy, but I was trying to, I was under the impression that it took about 2 years to go through the FAA to get a new certification program. And I was wondering, in regards to that? How is that in
We're
regards?
already starting to work with the FAA. They understand this is on the table. It does take 2 years to go through the FAA if everything goes right and the federal government's working.
Okay. And then, again, we appreciate such a growing industry all across Georgia. I know you've got programs all across Georgia in all our technical areas.
Aviation, we've got 5 across the state.
And I assume that they're filled up to the brim.
Yes. Most of them are, not all of them. It's a difficult program to get students to get in there. You think about a student that's going in aviation mechanics, they're being hired out, ironically, by a lot of the elevator companies are hiring them, but they work with pneumatics, they work with electrical, they work with everything, and a lot of times they'll get a job before they finish just going through a year of the program. And we battle that for sure. But
well, I appreciate it. I just want to make sure we're using our our resources to the wisest that we possibly can over the years. I know we've seen a consolidation and making sure that we're using taxpayer dollars wisely and at its fullest capacity.
I understand.
Senator Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner, and thanks for the presentation. And I know the needs for our scripted resources, but I know there's been some conversation about expanding the facility in South DeKalb. Can you comment on that, please?
I'm sorry, I had trouble finding you, Senator Jones, and then I didn't hear you.
I'm sorry, can you
I've
comment?
got you now.
Thank you, thank you. Can you comment on I know there have been some discussions about a facility in South DeKalb. Can you comment on the progress and the request regarding expanding that facility in South DeKalb, please?
Well, we are looking at that. We're definitely staying in South DeKalb. A lot of people felt like we were going to leave South DeKalb, and we're not leaving South DeKalb. We're working on a location right now, and we seem to be making progress in that way toward that end.
Thank you, Commissioner.
All right, Commissioner, you wore them out, so that's all the questions. We appreciate everything y'all doing.
Thank you.
Good luck this year. Thank you, sir. All right, the $2 billion man is here, Russell McMurray. Ask her if she got my message. She didn't have a phone.
Are we supposed to bring our own laptop? Okay. Okay. Just want to make sure. How you doing? See you, sir. Oh, good. All right. I think we've returned them to use. I'm not up next, but I'll be doing it.
Let's get rolling here. Commissioner, you're on.
Hold on a minute, she's got to load the presentation.
All right, if you're in the doorway, come in or out. Kind of like your mama used to tell you. Come in the house or out, one of the two. Oh my goodness, thank you. Thank you so much. Look at here.